When I inherited my uncle's 1,500-acre Colorado Lake ranch after his sudden death, I expected peace and quiet, not a $3 million mansion sitting directly on my private shoreline. Even stranger, a woman named Beverly Sinclair stood beside a locked security gate demanding $500 just to access land my family had owned legally for over 40 years. Beverly stepped out of a spotless white Mercedes G-Wagon wearing designer hiking clothes that had clearly never touched real dirt. Smiling confidently like someone greeting tourists instead of confronting the actual property owner. Behind her, a massive glass mansion towered above the lake exactly where my Uncle Charlie's old wooden fishing dock had stood for decades. A helicopter rested on a concrete landing pad near the water while expensive boats floated in a brand-new marina. Security guards blocked the gravel road my uncle had personally maintained since the 1980s. The air smelled like fresh construction instead of pine trees and mountain water. Beverly waved a thick folder of documents covered with impressive gold stamps and antique-looking seals. According to her, the entire shoreline belonged to something called the Lakeside Estates Homeowners Association. She claimed historical mining agreements from the 1880s gave her community permanent legal control of the lakefront property. What Beverly didn't realize was that I wasn't just a confused heir showing up without knowledge. My name is Sam Hendricks, licensed civil engineer and professional land surveyor for over 20 years. My entire career involved proving exactly where property boundaries legally exist. And Beverly's fancy documents already looked suspicious before I even opened them. Old legal paper carries the smell of decades spent in archives and dusty filing cabinets. The pages Beverly handed me smelled faintly like brand-new printer toner. That single detail told me everything I needed to know. Someone had forged historical property records. I kept my voice calm while asking simple questions about survey coordinates and property plats. Beverly answered confidently, but avoided specific numbers every time. Real land records rely heavily on exact coordinates tied to federal survey markers. Her paperwork referenced vague descriptions like historic shoreline boundary. That phrase doesn't exist in modern property law. Meanwhile, my uncle's original property deed sat safely inside my truck. The deed contained precise government survey coordinates filed with the Colorado Land Registry. I pulled out my phone and opened a satellite mapping application. Using official coordinates from the deed, I overlaid the legal boundary lines across the entire shoreline. The digital map immediately revealed something very interesting. Beverly's mansion, marina, and helicopter pad all sat roughly 80 yards inside my property line, which meant her entire luxury compound had been built illegally on my land. I quietly took screenshots of the map overlay while Beverly kept talking confidently about HOA rules. Security guards watched closely as if expecting me to leave embarrassed. Instead, I smiled politely and asked Beverly when construction on her mansion began. She proudly explained the community had started building 3 years earlier. That timeline actually helped my case tremendously. Property fraud becomes much easier to prove when illegal structures appear recently. My uncle had owned the land continuously for 4 decades. No legal transfer had ever occurred. I thanked Beverly for her time and calmly returned to my truck. She looked surprised that I wasn't arguing loudly about the situation. Arguing emotionally rarely wins property disputes. Evidence does. I drove directly to the county land records office located 40 minutes down the mountain. Within an hour, I had certified copies of every official survey map connected to the ranch. None of them mentioned mining easements or HOA shoreline rights. The records clearly confirmed my uncle's uninterrupted ownership. Even better, aerial photographs from the past decades showed no structures anywhere near the lakefront. Beverly's mansion had appeared only 3 years earlier, exactly as she claimed. That meant the construction company also shared legal responsibility. I contacted a property litigation attorney friend named Marcus before driving back to the ranch. Marcus specialized in land encroachment cases involving high-value real estate disputes. After reviewing the documents, he laughed loudly through the phone. According to Marcus, Beverly had accidentally built the perfect lawsuit. Legal construction on private property carries enormous financial consequences, especially when the structures cost several $1 million. Marcus immediately filed an emergency property encroachment claim in county court. The judge granted a temporary restraining order within 24 hours. That order froze all activity on the Lakeside Estates property. Construction crews, boat traffic, and helicopter operations were legally halted. Beverly received the court notice the following morning. I returned to the ranch that afternoon accompanied by a county sheriff. Beverly stormed out of her mansion furious when she saw us approaching. The sheriff calmly handed her the official court order. According to the judge, the entire compound now stood under investigation for illegal land occupation. Beverly tried arguing about historical mining rights again. The sheriff simply pointed to the survey map showing my property line running directly through her living room.
Oh.
Her confident smile finally disappeared. Over the next 2 months, the legal case unfolded quickly. Professional survey teams confirmed my original coordinates were completely accurate. Beverly's HOA documents were proven to be forged during forensic analysis. The supposed historic mining contract had been printed using modern ink and paper. Investigators also discovered Beverly personally approved the construction project. She had convinced investors the land legally belonged to her HOA. Those investors suddenly became very interested in recovering their lost millions. The court delivered its final ruling after 11 weeks. Beverly Sinclair was ordered to remove every illegal structure from my land. That included the mansion, marina, helicopter pad, and security gate. If removal proved impossible, she would owe full replacement value of the property. Demolition crews began work the following month. Watching a luxury mansion slowly dismantled, piece by piece, felt strangely satisfying. Within 6 weeks, the shoreline returned to its original empty beauty. Pine trees reflected across the lake exactly as my uncle remembered. The court also ordered Beverly to pay $3 million in damages. Most of that money covered environmental restoration of the shoreline. The rest went directly to me as compensation for the illegal occupation. Beverly's investors filed additional lawsuits shortly afterward. Her so-called Lakeside Estates HOA dissolved almost immediately. The private gate blocking my uncle's road disappeared. A few months later, my kids Emma and Tyler visited the ranch again. We rebuilt Uncle Charlie's old fishing dock exactly where it had always stood. Tyler pretended he was too cool to fish again. 10 minutes later, he caught the first trout of the day. Emma laughed so loudly the sound echoed across the entire lake. Standing there on the shoreline, I finally felt the ranch belonged to our family again. Beverly had tried stealing something that wasn't hers through arrogance and forged paperwork. But land doesn't lie, and neither do the coordinates that proved exactly where the truth stood.